I was a student at the University of Newcastle upon Tyne between 1971 and 1974. During my first 2 years there, I stayed in student accommodation at the Castle Leazes complex. But for my third year, I banded together with 6 friends and we rented a house off the Westgate Road. The house was number 16 Normanton Terrace. Now, Normanton Terrace was, and presumably still is, a long row of terraced houses from the Victorian period. Number 16 was a 3-storey building, spacious enough for us each to have our own room, plus there was a living room / common area, and of course a kitchen and a bathroom. So we moved in, I think it would have been September 1973, September, October. And right from the start, I was a little uncomfortable in the house. I always had a kind of vague, uneasy feeling. Couldn't put my finger on it at first. The fact that it was always colder in the house than outside the house might have had something to do with it, but I don't know. It was a cold house. But the longer we stayed there, the more little things started to happen that made us take notice. In particular in my room, the things that I noticed most. My bedroom ceiling had been tiled with polystyrene ceiling tiles at one point, and many of them had fallen off, and the previous occupant of the room had gathered them up and just tossed them on top of a freestanding wardrobe in the room. I knew they were there, I could see them, paid them no attention. But on several occasions I would wake in the morning to find that the tiles were on the floor. Sometimes in a seemingly random pattern, like they'd been pushed or blown off, but sometimes arranged in patterns. So there was some human intervention there. Now, I'm a logical man. My bedroom door was locked because, as I said, I always felt kind of uneasy in the place. So I was the only one in there, so I said, "Okay, Pete, you are sleepwalking." I've got no history of sleepwalking, as far as I know. I never did it before and haven't done it since, but what else could it be? In a similar vein, I also had a chess piece. It was a bishop that a friend had actually made and given it to me for some reason, I can't remember. But I had that with me, and I used to keep it with a piece of blue tack on the bottom, stuck on the mantelpiece above the gas fire in my room. And it would change places some nights, and I'd wake up and it'd be on my table, or once it was on top of the wardrobe with the tiles. But again, has to be me, right? Yeah, got an explanation for it. Elsewhere in the house, other people were noticing things, nothing quite as dramatic as my tiles in patterns and things, but stuff would just go missing and then appear in a place where it shouldn't really be. Odd places. It wasn't an everyday occurrence, but it happened often enough for us to take notice that something weird was going on. But again, we can come up with a logical explanation. Somebody was messing about. There's a jokester in the house. He's taking stuff and then putting it somewhere. Could be. We don't know. Things started to get really kind of spooky for me, though, just before Christmas. One evening, we'd all gone down to the pub. Everybody in the house was down the pub. And I wasn't feeling well. And I really didn't want to stay. I decided I was going to go back, even though it meant I was going to go back and the house was going to be empty, and I was a little spooked by it. But I headed back, got there, let myself in, turned on all the lights in the hallway and on the stairs, went up the stairs, into my room, locked the door behind me, everything's good. So I wasn't tired, I was just not feeling good, so I was actually laid on my bed reading. And I heard footsteps on the stairs. That caught my attention. I hadn't heard the front door, so it wasn't somebody with a key. And I forgot to mention earlier, but I should have said that the area was pretty rough and we were very conscientious about keeping things locked. So doors and windows were all bolted down tight. We were good about that. So for anybody to get in other than with a key through the front door, they would have had to have broken a window or kicked a door in or something, and I hadn't heard any noise like that, obviously. Just footsteps coming up the stairs. And then it got super scary because my bedroom door handle rattled. Door was locked, they're not getting in, and I couldn't actually see the door from where I sat. The shape of the room was kind of L-shaped, so the door was kind of round a corner. But, you know, fight or flight kicks in. I've got nowhere to flee to, so it's going to be fight. So I'm up and at the door. I'm not going to open it, but I'm at the door, giving it a loud, you know, who's there? Who is it? No answer. I got down on the floor and looked under the door, and I'd left the lights on the other side, so I could actually see, and there was nobody there. So I spent an anxious hour or so, however long it was, before the others finally came back home from the pub, and of course I out of my room, told them what had happened. We searched the place. Nothing, of course. There was nothing there. So everybody just assumed that I'd been dreaming or messing with them and making things up. But maybe I had been dreaming. It's possible. I've had dreams before where I've dreamt that I'm awake. But there's always a transition point. When you're really awake, you know you're really awake. And I was awake throughout that. I actually heard the noise. So the other explanation probably going to have to be that what I was hearing was a noise from another house. Terraced houses, noises carry. So maybe I was listening to my neighbour coming up her stairs and turning their door handle. It was the only time I ever heard that, but man, I told myself that must be the case, because hey, I've still got another 6 months to live in this place, and I want to be able to sleep in the night. So that was it. I've got a logical explanation for it. Everything's good. So we all left for Christmas and New Year, and the new term wasn't due to start until the middle of January. But I wanted to come back early. Well, wanted isn't the right word. I needed to come back early. I needed some time on the university's computer. This was back in the days before personal computers, so we all had to kind of compete for time on the big computer. And I'd been lazy, and I was kind of way behind with the project, so I really needed some time. A friend from my hometown decided to come up with me for a few days, which was pleasing. It meant I wasn't going to be in the house by myself. So Clive came along with me, just because he'd never been to Newcastle before, wanted to see the place. And when I got there, I found that a couple of the guys in the house had also come back early. Mick and Bill were both there, so 4 of us in the house. So one night we're up late and we're playing cards. The game we were playing, we called it Chase the Lady, but I think its official name is Hearts. It involves dealing all the cards out to the 4 players, so 52 cards, everybody gets 13 cards. We played several hands, and we dealt for a new hand, and Mick thought that he had the perfect hand. He thought he was going to wipe the floor with us. The only thing that could scupper his plans was if a certain card was played in the first round, and sure enough, that certain card was played. So Mick swore loudly, threw his cards in the air. He threw 13 cards up. We found 12 cards on the floor. 13th card was not there. I mean, how far could it have gone? It's a living room, it can't have gone far. So we said, okay, come on, let's be sensible, let's search for this, it's got to be here. We searched everywhere. We had cushions off chairs, we were looking under carpets, we had the lampshade down, we even pulled the drop leaf out of the table in case the card had somehow sliced in there. Gone. It just wasn't there. We figured out the missing card was 7 spades. Couldn't find it. I was really annoying because it was the only pack of cards we had in the house and we wanted to continue playing, but without the 7 spades, it kind of makes it difficult. So eventually we gave up. I mean, we just put it down as a mystery. The card had gone. A few days later, Clive had returned home. The other people who lived in the house had come back. Term started. We told everybody, of course, about the story. Everybody in the house knew that this card had vanished. Things continued to happen in the house, the kind of things I mentioned earlier. And again, not every day, just now and then. But life continued as normal, and we got through to the end of the year. People took exams, people got results, people packed up and left. And I was about to do the same, but I had a motorbike, and a couple of days before I was due to leave, it stopped working. Now, I'm not very mechanical, but fortunately Frank, one of the other guys in the house, was a farm boy, and anything mechanical, no problem. So he offered to stay behind and help me get the bike fixed. So on our last day in the house, the 2 of us were out in the yard at the back, and by yard I just mean a small concrete area with brick walls all around, and barbed wire and broken glass around the top to stop people getting in. So we were out at the back, everything locked up tight at the front, just the two of us there. And we were in and out of the house during the day, so we went in, something to eat, a glass of water, whatever, or maybe pick up some tools. But we were both in and out. But finally we got the bike working. Motor's running. I'm going to go in, clean up, grab my bags and leave. Frank's going to do the same, clean up, get in his car and leave. We walked in the house together, into the living room, 7 of spades, face up, round about where it would have fallen when Mick threw the cards in the air. Now, I've got no explanation. I do not know how that happened. I can see logically from your point of view, you weren't there, you can think, assuming Pete isn't making this story up and Pete didn't put the card there, then it must have been Frank. Frank must have found the card during the weeks after it disappeared and saved it for a practical joke before leaving. But I was there, I saw the effect it had on Frank, and his jaw hit the floor just like mine did. I mean, we were both stunned and shocked. I don't think that Frank put the card there, but I have no idea how else it got there. I've told this story a lot over the years. My memory for a lot of the details still feels fairly sharp. I've forgotten some details. For example, I can't remember what we did with the card. I don't think I took it. I don't know whether Frank did or whether we just left it there. But I've told this story just as I have today, and it kind of comes out like a ghost story because of the other things that have been going on in the house. But like I said, I've got a rational explanation for all the other things. Ghosts. Personally, I don't believe in ghosts. So I'm telling you this, what sounds like a ghost story, but I don't believe it's a ghost story. But I don't know what it is. I don't know how that car got there. I mean, I could come up with other stupid explanations, like some wormhole, and Mick threw the cards in the air in January and one of them slipped through a wormhole and landed in June. But that's nonsense as well, of course. But how did it get there? No idea. Sadly, I lost touch with everybody in the house pretty soon after leaving university. This was in the days before social media, so it was easy to lose touch. I would love if I was able to get back in touch with some of them to maybe talk through this story a little more. So I'm asking you as a viewer, if you've persevered with me this long, and if you know people with these names: Frank Moy, Mick Krask, Rod Pimblett, Hilary Barclay. I think the name was Barclay, it was something like that. Incidentally, Hilary, the female version of the name, she was the only lady in the house, so if she married, then her name will have changed. But the other guys in the house, I can't remember their surnames. There was a Bill and a Gary. But if you know any of the people I've named, point them at this video. I'd be really interested if they could see my story and get in touch and maybe corroborate, or maybe tell me that I'm totally misremembering it. I don't know. But okay, I've rambled long enough. Thank you for watching this far. Goodbye.